This is Shannon Holton, Real Salty Dietitian and owner of Sound Growth Nutrition and Wellness. I've been away for a little while, enjoying some spring break time of my own, but today I am back, and it's kind of convenient on the heels of an article that a friend sent me from the Washington Post related to opinions and images, and I guess kind of looking at the credence of dietitians. So first thing that my friends, and I said was, ooh, this is embarrassing, because it makes dietitians out to look like they are more profit-driven rather than science and client-driven. And it's kind of disappointing. But you also have to remember that social media is driven by clicks. So a lot of the people that they featured in terms of referencing concepts and approaches to nutrition were related to people that had high followers on social media. We know that people are going to be drawn to the things that appeal to them. And so I think that you do have to take the article with a grain of salt, knowing that some of the people that they featured as far as concepts and thought process and counseling approaches are related to ways that appeal to people. So the other 100,000 dietitians in our country may not necessarily ascribe to or follow those types of practice methods, but it was kind of geared towards those that are getting the most attention and focus on social media. But I did want to take some time to talk a little bit about the concepts that were highlighted in that article: anti-diet, intuitive eating, health at every size, and how a dietitian in the real world kind of looks at that and feels about the comments that were made, throughout that article. So to start with the concept of anti-diet, I don't like the word anti-diet. I like the word pro-lifestyle. Instead of thinking about avoiding diet, because to me, the word diet means your nutritional intake and the way that you eat, not the diet in that context that they are talking about. So anti-diet is really meaning we're against all of these fad diets and these temporary lifestyle changes that do help you lose weight, but aren't necessarily sustainable long-term for you to maintain that weight loss on that diet. So I don't like the word anti-diet. I like the word pro-lifestyle, because really it is about what you can live with long-term, and thinking that dietitians believe that you shouldn't follow a diet. We all should follow a diet, but it should be one that's thoughtful and appropriate and relevant to you, your health history, your body size, and body shape and composition. Intuitive eating is something that is near to me in terms of a pediatric standpoint. When we teach from infancy to parents, we teach about the food environment and how we raise people that are self-aware about food, nutrition, and those concepts. The problem with intuitive eating is that it's fine if you can start from birth and train your child up in that way to approach food in a healthy way. But once you're an adult, most of us, even myself, have things that muddy that intuition. So we all have an intuition. We can feel when our stomach growls. We can, you sometimes feel your salivary glands, kick in when you're hungry and smell good food. Those are intuitive parts of our nutrition and eating process. But they've been buried over the years by the fact that we celebrate with food. We eat when we're really, really happy and excited and celebrating. We eat when we're sad and depressed. We eat as a reward for something good that we did or happened. People get you get a promotion and you celebrate with cake. So we've buried a lot of that intuition with these behaviors and habits. And so following an intuitive eating plan isn't simply eating what you think sounds good because your body's telling you need that piece of cake because that's what it's telling you. It's telling you that because it's been conditioned and it's your habit. So intuitive eating becomes very, very difficult as an adult if you haven't lived that lifestyle, from birth, basically. So you kind of have to undo a lot of those wires to be able to really effectively use intuitive eating. The article referenced folks that actually gained weight on it, and part of that is because they're not necessarily addressing those things that are covering up our natural ability to recognize the foods that our bodies need. Health at every size is also personal. I am not a small person, and so I like to think that I'm healthy, but in reality, I know that when I have extra weight, that even though my labs are good and my blood pressure is good, I know that the long-term implications of that are that could be complications. Health at every size is a relative concept as well. All of this is really relative, and so I feel like, with this article, some of these things were taken out of context. If your BMI is 30, I'm going to look at your composition. I'm going to feel muscle groups and see, do you have muscle? Is your muscle tone good? And that BMI of 30 is really indicative and reflective of the fact that you have really good muscle mass. You can do measurements like waist circumference to be able to use that BMI in a more appropriate way as a screening tool rather than a diagnostic tool. So health at every size is related to doing some of those other things to verify whether or not you're healthy at the weight that you're at. But it doesn't mean that if your BMI is 50, which is really, really high, there's not likely a chance that BMI of 50 is reflective of a healthy body composition. We do want to be careful when we're working with clients about body negative concepts and working on body positivity, but that's from a perspective of being proud and being nurturing to the body as a whole. The last thing that sort of came through in this article is related to corporate sponsorships. I have not always been a member of our professional organization. It partly is the cost related, partly as I was working in an environment where I received a lot of the support that organization would provide prior to leaving, a clinical hospital setting. When I look at that, it's hard for me because I don't necessarily ascribe to having relationships with food companies and organizations that provide and promote foods that are really unhealthy for us. Things like large soda companies or snack food companies, sugary cereals. Those things are things that we don't promote as a good choice of food, and yet they do provide funding for the professional organization. I think that it would be nice if we could find a way around that and try to get away from that as a profession. Credibility-wise, it's a struggle. So this doesn't help that credibility. Overall, it created, I think, more embarrassment than anger because I know some of it is true. But again, they looked at the top clicks of social media dietitians, and those again are going to be people that appeal to the wider population as it relates to how to eat healthier, be healthier with the least amount of difficulty. Obviously, being anti-diet and being intuitive eating is a lot easier in a simple sense. Again, it's not digging into the actual concept of what it really means, but it's a lot easier to do that. And so the clicks on that, if that's what they're advertising, that first sentence, that title on the video is going to draw the most clicks. It does give a little bit of bias in that article. That is kind of my soapbox for today. We will see. Maybe my opinions or maybe my approaches will shift and change, but I kind of tried to just think through the highlights of what that article is really trying to communicate and provide to you, the consumer, my feedback on it, because as a dietitian, I don't want to be lumped into the category of folks that they were referring to, and reassurance that no matter whether you're using the terminology an anti-diet approach or intuitive eating approach, none of it is simple and easy. It all takes a lot of layers and a lot of background work, and not just changes in physical diet, but also changes in mindset. I'll be back next week with my usual schedule, and hope to see some of you tune in then. Have a great weekend.